Another neighborhood, this one in Oakland's Chinatown, is losing a landmark. The oldest store there is closing its doors forever this weekend. When it opened back in 1925, the rent was $60 a month. But inflation, changing times, and old age have finally caught up with it. Here's East Bay reporter John Fullmer.
In 90 years, the eyes of Guy Gui have seen a lot of changes. For 64 of those years, Guy and his 86-year-old wife have operated this newspaper stand at the corner of 8th and Webster in the heart of Oakland's Chinatown. They call their shop MONROE. It and they are institutions, but it is about to become history.
It's a combination of old age and rent inflation.
Guy's youngest daughter, Anna Wong, says the family has been trying to get their parents to retire for some 20 years. A recent increase raised the rent of the shop to $3,000 a month and helped convince Guy it's time to close the cash register and quit.
He likes it.
He likes to work.
Yeah. He likes it. Yeah. His heart is here.
His heart is here?
Yes.
Yeah. Been here for 64 years.
Yes. He built it up from nothing.
Yeah. It is the oldest shop in Chinatown, and its age shows in a neighborhood now surrounded by glitzy news stores and restaurants. It will be replaced by a bank, but its owner won't be forgotten.
Everyone in Chinatown calls him Lo Ji-Ba.
Which means?
It's a respectful way of calling him like uncle.
Did he get rich off this business?
Well, he raised 6 children, sent them all to college.
So Guy's wealth is apparently his family, which includes 23 grandchildren, 6 great-grandchildren, and the respect he has earned. They tell me that MONROE stands for longevity. But evidently even longevity has its limits, because the doors on this shop will close for the final time Sunday night. In Oakland's Chinatown, I'm John Fullmer, News Center 4.
Well, it's often tough for the small business owner to make it in the big city. Longevity isn't enough. Rising rents and competition are changing the urban landscape, and with it, we're losing a lot of history. Channel 7's Don Knapp looks at the last day of a family business in Oakland that shuts its doors after more than 6 decades.
12 hours a day, 7 days a week for just about every day of the past 64 years, newsstand owner Ji Gui and his wife Ham Shi Wong have sold Chinese newspapers on this very spot. In the good old days, there was other business as well. More than once, police raided the downstairs men's club and rounded up gamblers. But always the shop was a newsstand first, selling as many as 1,000 papers a day at its peak.
And we can always tell the pictures what year it was by who's the youngest child. So we say, well, Connie.
Ham Shi and Ji's family had grown to 44 members at last count. A lot of them did at least some work here.
All the children, all 6 children, we paid our dues. We fitted in after school, between school and Chinese school and weekends, until we got old enough to rebel. So then.
Long before the shop became the oldest business in Chinatown, it had become an institution.
My dad did a great deal to help people get welfare, Social Security. He was a witness for them to get their immigration straightened out, and he's helped a lot of people in his lifetime.
Now, after 64 years, it's over. Old age and new business have caught up with Gui and Ham Shi. Soon, the bank next door will take their newsstand's space. The closing of the newsstand also means the end of these windows at 8th and Webster. They've been a kind of community bulletin board for Chinese people, offering jobs, housing, and things for sale. Ji Gui's newsstand and corner services will be missed. In Oakland's Chinatown, Don Knapp, Channel 7 News.
Just to give you an idea of how much things have changed, G paid $60 a month rent when he opened the store in 1925. Last month, his rent soared from $2,000 to $3,000, and then he reluctantly decided to retire.
Once again, vandals have broken off the tip of a bronze rifle muzzle.
And at 8th and Webster is going out of business. Faith Fancher has this story.
Ham Shi Wong was behind the counter greeting customers today as she's done for 6 decades. But it was different today. Her husband Ji Gui was not at her side. He went home overcome by emotion. Their newsstand is selling its last papers, and after 64 years, 7 days a week, closing down.
She said she's had some customers that are like 50, been coming about 50 years. They're few and far in between, but there are still some that have been here that she's known for 50 years that still come in and buy their paper.
When I was 10-year-old, I used to shoe shine in this corner. We used to fight for the corner to shine our shoes and everything.
The family's being forced out by skyrocketing rent, the building to be taken over by the Union Savings Bank next door. A sad end to a place that's a landmark in Oakland's Chinatown. A place to buy papers, see friends, stop and talk, and even find out about a job.
Well, we've kind of cleaned up, but there used to be a lot of chairs lined up so people could come and sit and visit. So friends come every day.
5 of Mrs. Wong's 6 children were born upstairs from the newsstand. It was even kept open on the day their oldest daughter died. The family felt they owed it to their customers. Grandchildren were allowed to play freely on the floor, and through it all, 85-year-old Wong and her 90-year-old husband scoffed at retirement until they were forced into it today. In Oakland's Chinatown, Faith Fancher for the 6 o'clock news.
And still ahead to
Bay Area.
After 64 years, an Oakland institution will close its doors. The Chinese newsstand at 8th and Webster Streets is going out of business. Union Bank, which owns the building, wants to expand, so the store must go. It can't match the new high rent. As it turns out, though, it may be a move whose time has come. Faith Fancher has the story.
The newsstand is an Oakland Chinatown landmark, and so are the couple who've stood behind the counter since 1925, 7 days a week, Hom-Shi Wong and her husband, Ji Gui. But today was different. Mr. Wong was home, overcome by emotion, unable to finish out the last day that his store would be open. His wife stayed behind, continuing to greet customers as she has for the past 64 years.
She's had some customers that are like 50, been coming about 50 years. They're few and far in between, but there are still some that have been here that she's known for 50 years that still come in and buy their paper.
The shop has a long and colorful history. It's always been more than just a newsstand. In the back, the original stove that Mrs. Wong cooked on. She used to bake fresh goods that were sold in the store. One door leads to the basement where illegal gambling took place in the old days. The windows are a community bulletin board. It's always been a place to come, buy a paper, and stay and chat with friends.
Well, we've kind of cleaned up, but there used to be a lot of chairs lined up so people could come and sit and visit. So friends come every day.
When I was 10 years old, I used to shoe shine in this corner. We used to fight for the corner to shine our shoes and everything.
I feel a terrible sense of loss. I cried about it. I really did.
The couple has run this newsstand since they immigrated from China. Mrs. Wong had 5 of her 6 children upstairs. The shop was never closed, even on the day when one of the daughters died of a heart attack. The Wongs felt they owed it to their customers to stay open. 64 years, and 85-year-old Wong and her 90-year-old husband never thought about retiring until today, when they were forced to.
I mean, they're way past the retiring age. It's time for them to take a rest. But then knowing deep down inside, they're terribly sad. I think they would, if by choice, they would have gone on until the end of their days with the store open.
By June, there'll be nothing left of this building, this newsstand. It will be torn down to be replaced by something concrete for the 20th century. But there's one thing they won't be able to replace, and that will be the memories that will linger on. In Oakland and Chinatown, Faith Fancher for the 6 o'clock news.
The engineer of an Amtrak train